criticize me for.
Right. I mean, it's not really about being hard on yourself. I mean, you too have to get to self-forgiveness, right? And,
Yeah.
But it's about a marriage. Like, a marriage is actually caring about the other person's experience in life. You know, and that, you know, the highest understanding of marriage, in my opinion, is that you each agree to support and love and nurture the other person as they walk their individual path. And so, you know, that I get that the defenses come up because you beat up yourself so much, but that's probably why your marriage suffers, is because in a marriage you have to actually care about what Stephanie's experience is and want her to have a good experience of you and of life and of everything. And so if you can't find your way because you still have so much shame for yourself, it sounds like, to take yourself out of your own experience for a second and step into her experience and say, wow, that must be hard for you. It's not really even about you. It's about, can you stand in her shoes? It's not about you. It's about her. But it sounds like when you're asked to stand in her shoes, your defense immediately comes in, which is anger, to keep you from having
in this setting. Yeah, in this setting, absolutely.
Can you think of a time you stood in her shoes and felt bad for her having experienced this?
It's Elizabeth or Beth, I can't remember.
Both. Yeah.
Every waking day.
So every morning you wake up and you feel remorse.
I think about it like as to, I cannot believe, like, I don't know what they call this type of person, an idealist, you're saying somebody who like believes traditions, like the sanctity of marriage, and I grew up with all that, you know, saying the fact that like I participated in infidelity, you know, saying after being up in an altar, even if it wasn't after my marriage, the fact that I lost like 10 years of my life, you know what I mean? I think of every aspect as to how that impacted my life, you know, saying, as well as the individual that I love. I hold it in me every single day.
Yeah, the shame you hold in you.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
But that shame is not the same as remorse. Remorse is when you actually stand in someone else's shoes, regardless of your experience, and feel their pain. And say, this sucks. You know, like, let's say she got sick and she was in the hospital or something like that.
Look, I'm getting defensive right now. The answer is, can I tell you the last time I did it? It's like, I think about this stuff so often that I can't answer that question. But have I done it? Yes.
But have you done it out loud so she can experience it?
No.
Okay.
I mean, outside of like, you know, disclosure and what we were doing in conjoint sessions, yes.
But that sounds like you were owning up to, and not that wasn't extremely difficult and brave work, and I applaud you for it, because I have a lot of clients who need to do that and haven't. But there's a different experience.
I think I know where to go.
Stepping in someone else's shoes and feeling the pain you caused them.
It's a controlled setting when it's in disclosure. There's a little bit like a playground fence around it. You're saying, and have I done it on my own? The answer is no. You know, that's the one thing, like we could talk about like several little things, you know, stemming post-disclosure. But the one thing is, I just never wanted to experience anything like that ever again.
Experience anything like the disclosures.
Yes, yeah.
So, but the problem I see is that, like, this isn't even about the sex addiction. It's about being able to step into that wave, that remorse, that capacity to feel remorse or take responsibility for your behavior. In every, because like to me in my relationship, I'm constantly having to do that. Like, oh, sorry, I forgot to make you a tea. Oh, sorry, I left the car, you know, with no gas. Oh, sorry. You know, like there's always these moments where you can project yourself into the other person's experience and feel it for a second and then speak to it. That's how marriage gets strong.
You lost me on that one. Can you say that one more time?
Mm-hmm. That the way your marriage gets strong and open, because I think that's your main problem. If I had to diagnose a problem, it's like you're both too close to each other and you're not getting what you need, but you're also so close, both of you. That if we were going to open up, the way to do that is, can you project yourself into the other person's shoes, feel what it must be like for them, feel the compassion of that feeling, like feel compassion for them, and then name the experience. Because if you can, the other person will feel seen and they'll open. But if you can't, you're not willing to, then you will always meet a spouse that's closed, because until you can do that, and like forget sex addiction for a second. Let's just take smaller things. Like, you got so angry at me just now, I felt like I had to close down. So now can you project yourself into her shoes, hearing you yell about something or get mad about something, and see she got scared, and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you when I yelled, whatever like that. You gotta build the capacity for it. And what I hear you saying is like that disclosure thing was so traumatic on some level that you just like can't. Like you gotta close to it all. Because it's so overwhelming to imagine doing it again, even on a lesser level. But we gotta overcome that, because I'm sure this, everything that led up to the sex addiction coming out, but then the sex addiction, but the relationship that predated even that was probably fraught with closedness and double lifeness and lack of transparency. We're trying to overcome like everything. Because sometimes you can point at a couple who they were really good, and then something happened, and then they were really bad, and you can go back to the really good. But it feels like you guys are trying to create something you maybe never had, which is an open relationship, like open, both people open, no hiding. I'm not sure. It doesn't sound to me like you guys have ever had that.
No, on my side, no.
Yeah. I'm going to guess it's also true for you, even though maybe it's a little bit harder to point at because it's not as concrete, but I think it's probably true for you also.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that like I never felt that we had it, and then when everything came to light with the sex addiction, I very easily blamed that, like, oh, well, that's why we didn't have it. But yeah, to your point, I was probably closed off too, and just.
But I mean, you married somebody, like, forget, even before you found out. I'm not even saying the month before the marriage.
Yeah.
Like, you were dating someone you didn't even know.
Yeah.
And the reason was because you were closed, or you would have noticed that.
Yeah, I mean, there was an exposure in 2008, well before we got married. I don't know if she conveniently forgets.
Well, when did you start dating? Can you tell me the timeline?
Yeah, it was early 2007 is when we first started dating. The first time I was exposed by Stephanie was, and this was just as I entered in the throes of my addiction. Like, it was deep.
Yeah, but I didn't. If you're talking about that time, you lied to me. You said it was. What are you talking about? 2008 when?
In August of 2008, when we were in my
A year and a
apartment,
half.
I didn't lie about it.
No.
Okay.
No, Adam, you told me you
Let's
Sorry.
have him tell the story, okay? Because you don't even know he's going to say
Go
it.
ahead, you're right, I don't.
When she found some weird phone numbers in my phone, and just to recall your memory, this was the time that you asked Steve Rossi. There hasn't been any.
Yeah, and you told me
Wait, can I before
bought
you
Coke
start,
from her.
wait,
Like, so I,
In
hold
the
on,
moment,
hold on.
Steph, like,
You know what,
you're not-
guys, this is like a great example of how your fights have this fight has already gone off the rails, in my opinion. You've already gone down paths you're not going to recover from. So let me just stop in there, okay? So one of the things I just want to teach you, don't interrupt him. Just let him tell what he wanted to say, because it's not about the facts, it's about the point he's trying to make.
yeah,
And so he's trying to make a point, so don't nail him on the facts.
yeah.
And now he can't, it's going to be much harder for him to tell the story because you've interjected the ways in which you're already defensive about it. Say, no, it's because you lied to me. I don't even know what you're talking about yet. Chances are you do have some idea,
Yeah.
right? Because you're married, but let him tell it. And then listen for the point, not the facts, and don't get defensive. Just wait. So I wanted to ask you, start again, if you can. Can you start again?
You can open one.
I know, but I want you to, because this is a great way to help you, is to stop you in the middle of a fight and redirect you. So you started to say, answer the question, tell me the timeline. So in 2007, you started dating, and somewhere in mid-2008, you had a transgression of some kind. Or there was always...
Exposed, yeah. It was the first time I was exposed, yes.
This is the first time you did this.
August of 2008.
Okay, and so exposed, but not, you were not faithful. between here and here.
Correct.